Button here. T-minus 1 minute, boys and girls.
An extraordinary period for America's economy.
A look back at the biggest financial crisis since the Great Depression.
The market is not functioning properly.
And the events leading up to it from the people who were there.
You started to see the Dow plunge in synchronicity with the vote on the House floor.
Subscribe now at FoxNewsPodcasts.com or wherever you download podcasts. Never, ever 100% trust Wall Street. New from the Fox News Podcasts Network.
I'm Dana Perino, co-host of The Five and co-anchor of America's Newsroom. Join me for Season 3 of my limited-time podcast, Everything Will Be Okay. I'll chat with guests who have had major career or life pivots and people who have persevered and are leaving a trail of inspiration for all of us to follow. Of course, we'll have some laughs along the way. Make sure you subscribe to this series wherever you download podcasts. I'm Dana Perino, and everything will be okay.
Now, from the News Radio 930 Auto Spa Express News Center, this is WFMD News.
A vehicle crash in Urbana Friday morning sent one man to the hospital. Just before 9
All right, good to see everybody. Hope you guys are well. Good morning. Happy Saturday. We are getting ready to go in 1 minute.
A truck overturned, spilling its cargo of milk.
Milk on the road, huh? Cows come out.
Able to free him. He was flown to a trauma center. The milk ran down Route 80 and into the storm drains. The Maryland Department of the Environment was called to the scene. The area was closed for a time.
All right, ready?
And Dan Snyder has an agreement in principle to sell the Washington Commanders to a group led
Yeah, and Mr. Dan Snyder. Bye-bye. 6.05 billion chips. And he bought the team for $800 million, and he's walking with $6 billion. You can't make it, Terry. We should be getting into that business. We should have bought the Redskins. Could have doubled our money in 10 years, man. Come on. Sell for, what, $12 billion in 10 or 15 years from now? That'd work good. Sell team for double.
What?
Sell the Redskins. We could buy the Redskins. Like, we should have bought that. I still think we should have bought the Redskins. Yeah. All right.
Anybody but.
Anybody but. It's all good. Get ready.
He went to high school with Mark Wharton and Mark Gallagher.
Crazy. Should have sold the Mark. All right, get your microphone. Tell Terry get his microphone ready. Got to get his microphone ready.
What?
Hey guys, welcome back to your Frederick Real Estate Update. I am Darren here with RE/MAX Results, giving you over 20 years experience here in the real estate market. And also with me, the man, the one and only from Mr. Presidential Bank Mortgage himself, Mr.
Terry Kernan.
All right, you're alive and wake and well, man. We got so much action. It's going crazy.
Got a workout in and everything this morning.
Yeah, lots of good stuff. We on now? What happened there, Mr. Producer? Something went mishappen. Every so often, a little technical thing doesn't happen too often, but hey, let's do that again. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for tuning in on this beautiful, happy Saturday that it's sprinkling out there. So I am Darren here with RE/MAX Results. We already said, Terry, do it again. Do it real quick.
Terry Kernan.
There we go. There it is. So he's got his Irish on. I love it. He's got his Curtis Irish. I don't have my Irish on today. I am still Irish. I always will be. So, all right, we're going to get right into it. Guys, we have a lot of stuff to cover. Phone lines are open, 301-694-9363. You are welcome to call in with anything that you want to share about real estate. What are you seeing out there? What are you dealing with? Because we got a lot of stuff, and it's been pretty wild. So, Terry, let's go right on into the numbers here real quick. Active homes, 270. Still can't break that 300. Come on now. This is the height of the market, too. Resales, 157.
So that number's up.
Yeah, it is. Oh, yeah, we're up. We like it.
That's up.
I mean,
a good chunk.
It's up from the 120 we've been living in, it felt like. So we made a net gain of 30 to 40 homes, but what people don't understand is that 157 after this weekend is probably going to come down a little bit. Because there's going to be a lot of contracts this weekend, I'm sure, and so that could possibly go to 130 or 140 or less in the next day or two, but who knows. 45 days on the market, that has come down. We were at 51. The reason why that's come down is because it's more buyer demand and things are definitely selling a lot faster. And I'm going to talk about one of my listings we had a lot of fun with this last week. They love it. New construction, 113. Coming soon, 40. Up. We were back at 60. We got to like 75. I started feeling really good because if we broke 100, man, it'd feel like NASCAR. But we're back down to 40, which means we just don't have enough, stuff coming in the Amazon and Walmart truck called homes for sale. Pending under contracts, Terry, brand new builds. We got 305 total resales, 194 new. And last 30 days, we've had 313 solds. Wow, I remember the days we were having like 800.
I know.
Wow, that was so much fun 2 years ago. So yeah, the average though we would normally be at would be about 550 to 600 homes would be a nice average. So we basically are not quite half, but we're down 40%, 45% in volume maybe. Average time of those was 21 days on the market. The average single family home is back up a little bit. Some of this is new construction and everything because this is everything that's sold in the last 30 days. And by the way, I do have people buying brand new homes and they're complaining that the base home prices of new home construction is continuing to go up because there's nothing out there. And that number for single family homes was 509,831. And my favorite numbers, the list to sold price ratio is at 100.4%, which is astounding because we were getting back down to like 97.3. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, if we start getting under 95, that means we're starting to turn to a buyer's market, or it's just, and no, we're back to where we have bidding wars like crazy. So I'm going to talk about that.
Wow.
Yeah, so here's the fun thing too. Terry, in inventory, there's only one house in Frederick County for under $100,000.
Really?
Yeah, it's a playhouse. It's 12 by 24. They're 12 and 13-year-old kids called me. And we put it at $50,000, and we already got offers coming in. So it's a beautiful playhouse. So really nice. It sits in the woods. It's amazing. It's got a great view. It's good. So this is bad, but it's true. 4 homes under $200,000. Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's more than amazing. This is actually worse than the inventory numbers that we had in 08, 9, 10, or actually in 05 and 6 and 7. So 17.
So we see where these numbers are going. So you said 157 resales are on the market.
Yep.
4 of them are under 200,000.
Yeah, that's
okay. So
that's
we know
true.
where these numbers are going.
Yeah, and then 17 homes under $300,000. So here's the thing: if you qualify as a buyer for anything under $300,000 and you want to live in Frederick County, I have 17 homes for sale or coming soon right now for you to engage into. And out of the 17, Terry, how many of those do you think are called fixer-uppers, which investors love?
You're not seeing a whole lot of them, but let's say out of 17, let's say 4.
Yeah, you got about 4. That's probably a good number. That's good.
Quarter.
So, yeah. So the other fun number, and I'm going to let you go, is 2 homes in last month. We had 2 houses in Frederick County that sold over $1 million. Now, somebody might say, well, that's not a big deal. Here's what's really cool about it. Both of them sold in under 11 days. That's $1 million. Because normally $1 million home or higher in Frederick County, the average time of that is 102 days on the market. 2 of them just sold, the last 2 of them in 30 days now, 11 days or less. You can't make this up.
Well, I was working with clients that are in that price range of 750 to 850 range. Mm-hmm. And there was a beautiful house that came on. It was a resale. And as we've talked numerous times on the show, if you get above 600, your competition is new construction. Yeah. So the house better be really sharp and really clean and very, almost perfect because your competition's a new build. And this was one of those houses, and it came in at $775 on the list price, and it got bid up by several people to well over 800,000. Mm-hmm. It was around 840, I think, or 50. It was somewhere way up that eventually won it. So it all depends on the house. It depends on the neighborhood, the house. But if you're going to be above 600, it's either going to be a really bad fixer-upper, or it's going to be a really, really good, beautiful house.
Yeah. So the last thing I'll share is, Terry, we put a house on the market in Frederick near downtown, beautiful little rancher, $275,000. I got to put one on that was under $300 that I knew was going to get a lot of activity. And guess what happened, Terry? We had 55 showings and 15 fights in the front yard. Those are 15 offers, and only one gets the win, and that price went way sky high with no inspections, no this, no that. Would you like us to walk your dog for a year and give you free pizza and everything else? Plus, we'll pay for your moving truck to your new house and anything else that you'd like, Your Honor. So my sellers had a lot of fun for 4 days. They literally felt bad for 3 days. It was during Easter. They were there Easter Sunday, but the Saturday and Monday after and Friday, oh my goodness gracious. They, so I kind of, it was one of the first times I almost had to apologize to a seller. I'm sorry I got you so many showings. I'm so sorry about this.
Yeah.
My goodness gracious.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
Yes, the 55 showings and 15 offers. Sorry for the inconvenience. Man, we were hoping back in 2010 and 11 we could get 2 showings and 1 offer, right? So, all right, what's going on in the financial mortgage world?
Great news. Good
Yeah.
news. Good news. So, everybody that listens, you know that I talk a lot about the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. I also talk a lot about the PPI, the Producer Price Index. Just as a quick review, the cost that people buy things, the cost that the consumer pays, that's the CPI, okay? That was projected to be at 0.2%, which is a very low number. It actually came in at a 0.1% increase. It's the 9th month that has decreased, okay? That is one of the top inflation numbers. So that is tremendous news. So if you saw your stocks kind of get a rebound, a little bit of a bump, and then you know, we lost that gain, but the mortgage market got a little better, okay? Next day, on Thursday, the PPI comes out. Now, this is the Producer Price Index, just as a little bit of a review, that is what the producers have to pay to produce something, right? That number dropped a whole 0.5%. It didn't go up. It dropped 0.5%. Now, the volatility is when they say when you strip out and get the core rate. Well, what are you stripping out? The number one thing that you're stripping out is the cost of energy, right? Mm-hmm. So just as a review, we've talked a lot about getting this inflation under control, and the key factor to the numbers that we're seeing is exactly what I've been talking about over the last 6 weeks, is until you get the cost of fuel down.
Yep.
It's going to be high. You're going to have issues with inflation. So the biggest drop in the Producer Price Index was fuel. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now that they're getting that figured out, then the Federal Reserve is probably only going to bump rates one more time, and that'll be next month. Okay? So the numbers look good. The numbers feel good. You know, things are looking good, and it's getting a lot of the volatility out of the market, these numbers.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can always sell stability. It's very hard to sell volatility. I mean, there's at a point where, you know, I would quote somebody a higher rate just because the next day it could have been that much higher. Now it's kind of leveled out, which is a huge welcome to our industry, the mortgage industry, especially when you're dealing with rates and volatility and people trying to qualify and what do I do here? Or the old, are you bait and switching me because, you know, 3 weeks ago you told me the rate was 6 1/4 and now it's 6 3/4. So a lot of that seems to be dissipating, okay? And that's going to help us out, and that's going to also help, my belief, to get more people to put their house on the market. Okay?
Yeah, I still think we got a ways to go, man.
Oh, no, we by all means.
You said the last thing, like getting people to home the market. What is that number? We've been trying to figure out what's that place where sellers aren't going to feel like, holy cow, this is just craziness for me to give up. And that was the thing I had a number about, was how many percentages of people that had a mortgage. I think it was like 73% of all people have a mortgage under 4%. And that's 3/4 of all the mortgages. So I still say closer to 5, but you're right. We're hovering around 6, low 6s for the most part. And I think what I'm learning from all the buyers I'm working with and everybody, that people are starting to get used to it. They're starting to realize, like, hey, if it feels like the first time in a long time that if they can get an FHA or get under 5 into the 5% range of a mortgage, like, wow, we're doing okay. Now it's doing better, you know, because we were as high as 7.25. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that the stability
Yep.
is what people, you know, pandemonium never works in anybody's favor, okay? Volatility never works in anybody's favor. So, and I've always asked, you know, give me a rate, make it stable. People will buy into that rate once they know that it's stable and that's where it's going. But if there's a tremendous amount of flexibility, so if rates are coming down, people are going to say, well, why would I buy something today that I know is going to be on sale tomorrow?
Right.
So things are looking good.
Yeah,
I'm
stable.
feeling good about it.
Definitely good. Alrighty. One of the other factor things, Terry, as far as appreciation, people know state of the market and all that, and I printed this up this morning. It's on my Facebook channel thing as well. A really good video I found, a guy explaining that, hey, we're not going into a market crash. It's not going to be like that at all. And of course, there's a lot of buyers, Terry, that are still thinking that surely values have to come down. The affordability, we keep hearing about it. We keep hearing in the news and this and everything else. So it's like, wait a minute. You got to remember we're 2 million plus homes short in the United States behind the supply demand factor and all that. So I just want to take a minute. This is like really cool. I found it has all the neat numbers we have, Terry, going back to 1942. How much have home prices appreciated and gone up in the United States as an average? And of course, this is not local. This is the whole United States bumped into one. But it gives you a nice feel for some things. So we're going to take just a minute or two. I want to get your thoughts on it. 1942 was the first time they tracked the numbers in the war. 3%. 1943 was 11, then 17 and 21 by the 1945. 1946, 24%, 21 in 1947.
1947.
1947. Holy cow.
So the end of the war.
Yeah.
Everybody came home.
Yeah.
Everybody got a house.
Yeah.
VA, the GI Bill, they
Yep.
used to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So there's the fuel that did all that, but to see the demand and then prices just went crazy. But what the heck happened? I'm like, 1948, it went from 21% appreciation in home value, which, by the way, that's the highest. When I look at the whole chart since then, I'm like, wow, the great time to buy a house was in 1942, and the time to sell was 1948. 1948 was 2%. 1949 was 0%, flat across the board. So what do you think was going on in 1948 and 49 besides Elvis come on the scene?
I think what you were looking at is probably the effects of everybody coming home and buying and the economy. I think things slowed down, and I think that the appreciation was caught up by with the demand was lowered.
Yeah, big time. So the whole 1950s was like 1%, 3%. We only had a 4 and a 12. That was 1953. It was interesting. And then the 1960s, 1%. 61 was 1. 1962, flat. 1963, 2%. So all through the 60s, it was like 1 and 2% growth in real estate prices, which was really interesting until 1969. It got up to 7%. It was like it broke out. For the 1950s and 60s, 1969 was like 7%. Whoa. Okay.
What was 1955?
1955 was flat. It was 0.
1955 is when my parents bought a house in Illinois, outside of Chicago, and they sold it 6 months later, and then they bought their house in South Bend. In South Bend, they bought it in 55, and then they actually sold it at a loss.
Yep.
In 1965.
There you go. In 1965, they sold it at a loss.
But part of that was South Bend
Yeah.
was going through, a lot of
More local real estate.
manufacturers.
Yeah, those numbers could be lower than these or so, but I think this is cool. That's a neat story to see the trend of that and what happened. My year, 1971, Terry, at least I wasn't 0, 1, 2, 3. I was 4%. Prices went up 4% the year I was born. 1972. What year were you born again, Terry?
1962.
Okay, 62. So yours was 0. So you were just flat. Just came out flat. It's okay. No problems. Nothing negative. Nothing bad.
Not great demand.
Yeah. The 70s, though, was very interesting because the rates went up and all that. And then we had 10% in 1974, 1977, 15%, 16, 17, and then 1979, 14%. So, this is when the interest rates, we had some, volatile interest rates then. So the 70s was an interesting time. The 1980s, in my opinion, is like one of the greatest growths of like real estate. I've always said it was real estate values, but when I look at this, 1980 was 7%, 5%. 1985 was like 1986 was 10%. 1987 was 7%. The time we hit negative. So here's what everybody's going to want to know. Darren, it's positive. When are the times in real estate that it was a negative number? The craziest thing is it wasn't until 1990, graduated high school, negative 1%. That was when the Gulf War was in 1991.
It was a recession year.
Recession years. So negative 1 and 0% was 1990 and 91 for home values.
So 1990.
Yep. I remember it well.
Midterm election.
Yep.
That we just went through.
Mm-hmm.
And basically rates were probably going up at that point.
They were around 10, right? 9 or 10?
In 1990, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were probably, yes.
About 9.5, okay.
In 91, we had a refinance boom, 91 and 92, because going into the presidential election. But I remember that recession. It was a zinger.
It was a zinger, all right. That was when we were in the construction, housing industry, my parents, and definitely we saw.
And that's when the banks were being taken over.
Oh yeah, the savings and loans, all that
was
crazy
the
stuff.
savings and loan crisis.
Whoa, that was fun stuff. You got to
Was
Google it.
-1.
For anybody born after 1990, you might want to Google savings and loan crisis and all that. You'll have a good time learning about economics, U.S. history 101s. All right, the 1990s, 2%, 4, 6. 8, 9. So until the year 2000, we got the 9% then, and things were going up. 2002, 3, and 4 were all double digits, 10, 10, 14, 14. And then 2006, 2%. And then here's our favorite, Terry.
2007.
This is it. Hasn't happened since 1942. 2006, 2%. And then 2007, negative 5. 2008, negative 12. We've never dreamed of losing it. Negative 4 in 2009, 2010 was negative 4, 2011. So if you add up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight years of negative values going down, if you add them all up, that's like 35, 40% across the whole United States.
And what's deceiving about that number, in my opinion, because I've lived through it and you lived through it, is the financial crisis, the financial crash, not only financial but real estate crashes. What's deceiving is there are some areas that did not suffer during those times, like DC,
Yep.
you know, but then there's places like Frederick, Hagerstown, Cumberland, you know, the outlying areas away from the big cities where those numbers where people lost was, you know, upwards of 50% in some cases.
Yes, Cumberland.
You know, so that's where it's a little deceiving, because the closer to the cities, the stronger cities, Washington, D.C. was one, because, you know, for years we used to say, hey, we're recession proof, we're D.C.
Yes.
We've got the federal government here. And boom, was that a kick in the teeth in 2006 and 2007 and 2008.
Didn't see that coming.
Yeah, nobody saw it coming and nobody believed it could happen. But so those numbers are a lot worse for the outlying areas. It was just a horrible.
Yeah. 2012, Terry, we climbed out of the hole 6%. What a rebound from a negative 4 to now 6. That's a 10% net change. 2013, 11%. And here's what's funny. As I look back, it didn't feel like that, though. It felt like we were, like, struggling to get any traction. And in 2014, it seemed like it. That was 5%, 5%. 2017 was 6. 2018 was 5. 2019 was only 4%. Here's where it got fun again, was 2020 COVID. Double digits again, 10%. And then 2021, 19%. And then last year came in at about 6. But our area was closer to 9 or 10. So if I take national numbers and then I take our local numbers, we've always pretty much, like you said, we've always been a little bit above the national average for home appreciation. So if somebody out there's listening, they say, man, I'm waiting for a crash, I'm waiting for values to go down and I'm going to get a good deal. No, you're not. You're not going to like it, because this, I don't even know when we're going to see the next negative value change. Because it's not going to be this year. My prediction is we're going to come in at about 5 to 6% appreciation this year. So we got about 5-6 minutes on the program. Terry, you want to talk about that? And I'm going to bring up some cool subjects.
Yeah, I think these numbers point to one thing, is that it's not a bad thing if we go into a recession. Like the recession that we, you know, the areas where it was negative was basically the real estate and the financial crisis of 2007, 2008, 1990. That was a bad recession. And so what we're taking a look at is that was another negative time. But other than that, you're going to at least break even.
Yeah.
Right? That's the feel, is you're going to at least break even. So it's never a bad time to buy a house.
Right.
There's just bad times to sell a house.
There you go. That's good.
That's my take on these numbers.
So whenever I hear people saying, I bought a house, and my grandparents, they bought a house in Silver Spring in 1960 for $45,000, and now I'm selling for $600,000. These numbers is why that's happened. It makes a little bit more sense. So there you go. All right, let's move on here, Terry. A couple thoughts I want to get on this. Land and lots. I've talked a lot about lots and land for sale and all that. And you got to pay attention to the big thing, of course, still is your perk approves. If it's perk approved for a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, do you have it approved or not? A well on it and the holding yards and septic. And we've talked a little bit, guys. Everybody should know this by now. I'm hoping you learn it. That the rules of the game have changed. If you haven't had it perked since 2019, it doesn't give you a guarantee that the county's going to reapprove it to build what you want on it with how many bedrooms and sizes and all that. So that is a really big thing that's going on. But there's something else that I dealt with in the last 2 months now, 3 months, that's not been fun to deal with. And it's one of those you shake your head and you're like, help, help. I have had real estate attorneys. I've had your advice, everybody's advice. I mean, everybody you can imagine. There's a lot, 23 acres in Jefferson. A family from New Jersey called me to look into it and sell it and all that and everything like that. And it's been in their family for many, many years. And there used to be a house, like a little house thing. And so this thing, and built into the ownership, the deed, the variances, and there's called an easement and right of way because there's farm and 2 or 3 other properties around it between, 180 and on 15 and everything. And so, or 340 and 180. And so all of a sudden, during the mix, they have it, and now it's in a trust, and the family owns it. Well, the person that's part of it that grew up there is a little girl that used to walk down the lane in the driveway to go to the bus stop in the 1960s. They're thinking, no problem, let's sell this 23 acres of land. Everybody's getting older. Let's just do this, right? Come to find out it's landlocked. There is no ingress, egress. There's no,
But you said there was easements.
They had all that in place. And when there was a death and it expired out from the year and whatever year it was we looked into, that no longer was actually in place. And so I had a real estate attorney and others look into it in the county and everything, and come to find out, it's like, oh boy, what can now be done? And so the thing about this, Terry, is it winds up being this. And so if anybody owns land and everything, I want to encourage you guys, make sure if it's in a trust or whatever you held it in or whatever the deed is and everything, you want to make sure, and me personally, I'd be nutty enough, I'd want to get it like resurveyed. I would want to make sure everything's updated, everything's established, the land yards. Because here's what the problem is. The neighboring properties and things of this parcel of land, the only way is the owners, they have an option. They could pay the owner, the surrounding. There's 2 ways in and out that potentially could work. And they would have to give money or so or something, or they don't have to, where the neighbors would agree and they would write in with a new deed description. They would give a right-of-way that's granted now, okay? Well, in this case, they're not wanting to do that.
Okay.
So that's a problem. It's
so they
now
don't want to give an easement that was there at one time
to reestablish
to reestablish it. So you have 23 acres that you cannot get to unless it's a helicopter.
That's a good way to put it. So here, if I put a real estate sign out there to sell the property,
the neighbors don't want to help out.
They don't want to help out. And the neighbors, if I put a for sale sign somewhere near there or wherever, and then you got people, they're going to be walking across people's property, private property, to go see this parcel of land. And now you got trespassing issues, Your Honor. So it's like, oh no.
So my recommendation is change the name of the family trust to the Soprano Family Trust, and see if that would sway them to.
That might cause a ruckus. You never know what can happen in real estate, everybody.
That is awful.
Or they could sell it to the neighbors. And this is the one thing. The other big thing is it's just good old hunting ground. Or the neighbors, they could potentially buy it and just keep it the way it is or what have you. But it's really a tough thing because, at the end of the day, there's not much we can do at this point. It's really difficult, So it just leaves me to tell everybody out there, if you own land, make sure you really want to double check and see what you can do with it based on your perks, based on the deed, variances, right-of-ways, this, that, you name it, and make sure nothing's changed because a lot of things do change, guys. All right, so we're almost done here. Listen up. Next week, Terry, we're going to cover new home build. We want to talk about how to handle that because sometimes there's grants and things that the others can't give and you can. So, hey, have a great weekend. Happy buying and selling. Take care on your Frederick Real Estate Update. We're always here for you. Thanks, guys. Good seeing you. Have a great Saturday weekend.